Imagine a time when once again you will be free. Free to travel, to explore, to be with those you love. Imagine that smile, beckoning you close. Imagine the limestone cars dancing on the horizon. Imagine that aroma with its taste of the ages. Imagine that moment when the Andaman breeze brushes your face. Imagine that freedom. Imagine Phuket.
Welcome to the Sandbox edition of Thai Road Trip. This is Bill Barnett from C9 Hotelworks, together with Delivering Asia Communications. This is our special episode about what to do when you arrive in the Phuket Sandbox. We're going to be visiting all the beaches across Phuket today. I've got my shades on, and welcome to Thai Road Trip. Our Thai road trip today is continuing. We started out in Mai Khao this morning, and we're continuing on to Nai Yang. We're working from north to south. If you've flown into Phuket, you probably landed right here at the airport, but right next to the airport there's Nai Yang Beach. There's, again, great green spaces in Surinath National Park, big trees, great location. Come visit here. And continuing our journey, going from Nai Yang Beach, just a few minutes away is Nai Ton. Nai Ton's one of the most spectacular small boutique beaches here. People are asking what's going to happen when you come to the Sandbox. Is Phuket open? Have a look at this. On the road again, we're at Bang Tao. Bang Tao is over 6 kilometers of long stretch of beach. It's very famous for a beach club. Here today we're at the Lazy Coconut, Catches next door. Of course you got the Hugo Hub, you've got Beach Pig as well, Zana. A lot of selections, but again, if you want a beach club, nothing like it in Bang Tao. Wow, the back of the Sandbox here. We're in Surin Beach now. This is a place of home of famous 5-star hotels, but also for locals to gather. Board sports are increasingly popular here. Again, skateboard park is here. There's surfing today, so lots of sports activities. Hey, we're halfway through our West Coast swing of Phuket's best beaches. One of the places today, we're in Kamala, and these beachfront hotels, there's great locations as well. When you come to the Sandbox, why not stay where you're able to walk out of your hotel right onto an expansive beach? A great experience. Wow, we're here at the famous Patong Beach. This is the most well-known beach in Phuket. And if you know about the entertainment zone and everything else of Patong, Patong's never looked this great. So why do you want to come to Phuket right now with a Sandbox? Just take a look at this. This place has never been better. And we're heading south now. How many beaches can you go to in one day? One great thing about Phuket is it's easy to get around this island. You know, some of the southern beaches, we're in Coron Beach right now, and especially Europeans love this beach. If you want to get away and you want a quieter area, maybe not so much entertainment, but long stretch of white sand beach, if it's just about the beach, come to Coron. Let's go have a look. Our Thai road trip is getting to the end of Phuket. We keep on heading south. We're in Katanoi, which is certainly a spectacular little beach, great surfing spot. And I guess one of the outcomes of the pandemic has been that Phuket's beaches have never been better. So it's a great time to visit. But yeah, what I want to do in a day in Phuket, Sandbox, I just want to take a walk on the beach. What better place? Wow, what a day. 10 beaches in one day. The Sandbox. This concludes our Thai road trip episode. C9 Hotelworks, Delivering Asia. Please come back to Phuket and welcome home. Flip-flops optional.
Hi, welcome to the Phuket Sandbox, an online tourism event. I'm David Johnson, CEO of Delivering Asia Communications, and I'm here with Sumi Suryan, Business Development Director.
Hello, everyone.
Delivering Asia Communications. Well, today is quite an historic event, but the last 14 days have been a very historic 14 days because it is when the Sandbox actually opened. Historic because the borders are open. The borders are finally open for Thailand. It's just amazing. And today is going to be a bit of a report card about how we've done so far. So it's 14 days. There's been 3 tests during those days, and we're going to go through some of the data. So far, we've had 5,473 arrivals. That's almost 200,000 room nights that have been booked up until the end of August. Amazing stuff.
It is.
Really amazing
And
stuff.
lots to cover today as well.
And lots to cover today. And we have, and Samui. Samui, well done, guys. Samui opened today too. The first flight's in. That's absolutely fantastic. So we have a full list of fantastic people coming to speak today. We've got the Tourism Authority of Thailand to talk about the destination. We have Thai Airways to talk about air access. We've got Laguna Phuket talking about hospitality. We've got Tour East talking about tour operations. We've got C9 Hotelworks for opinions and trends.
And
Sumi,
also Phuket Tourist Association as well.
that's right,
covering-
of course. Bumi Kitty is going to be coming up first.
Exactly.
Some housekeeping points for everyone who's
Just to remind everyone, this session is recorded, and any presentation that we are displaying will be distributed to all the registered participants. So don't fret. And as well, if you have any questions and answers, we have left quite a bit of time towards the end for you to ask our expert panel speakers.
And for those of you who are wondering, welcome back home. Yindi Tonlap Kaban. This is welcome back home in Thai. Right, first up, we have Kun Bumi Kitty. Kun Bumi Kitty is the president of the Phuket Tourist Association. Kun Bumi Kitty, welcome. Okay, Kun Bumi Kitty is going to be joining us very, very shortly. He's going to be talking about the arrivals, the data, the destination of origin, number of positive cases too, because it's the area that everyone wants to know about. There's been 10 so far, 10 out of over 5,000, nearly 5,500 arrivals. So it's pretty great stuff. Okay, Kumbumi Kitty is having some issues regarding connecting. Who are we going to go with first? Why don't we start with the TAT, Tourism Authority of Thailand? Sumi, please.
Hi, it's an honor today to have Kun Sripakon from Tourism Authority of Thailand, and Kun Sripakon is the Deputy Governor for the International Marketing for Europe, Africa, Middle East, and Americas. And welcome aboard, Kun Sripakon. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone from the UK, and good afternoon for the participants from Thailand.
Well, thank you for coming on board today. I know it's a very busy day today for you. You're also in Samui and traveling en route. And I believe you're there now for the opening.
That's right. That's right. I'm now on the Samui Island to the reopening of Samui Plus today.
Excellent. So the topic that's on everyone's mind is like now is a really good time to travel to Phuket. So the questions on people's mind right now is what is the TAT doing in terms of promoting Phuket, especially to the UK market, and what are the incentives in place for the travelers, as well as what do travelers expect when they arrive in Phuket? And the last question is do you have any fixed targets that you can share in terms of promoting Phuket and other incentives and strategies?
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Of Thailand.
All right, thank you very much for those questions. It's very good question as well. Let me just explain this. Actually, we just opened the Phuket Sandbox to welcome the fully vaccinated traveler to the island on the 1st of July, which is already 2 weeks. I think there will be another person to talk about the statistic, the numbers of tourist arrival, which is quite a very good start to Phuket Sandbox. But just first of all, I'm just like to take this opportunity to thank everyone, to having TAT on this seminar, on this webinar as well. And then to be really honest with everyone, the initiative ideas of this Phuket Sandbox came from the local people, came from the Phuket people. I mean, in terms of the government, local authorities, the peoples, and also the private sectors, together with TAT. We are one of the coordinator in the middle to make it happen, to coordinate with the authority concerns. And then one authority or one good example that we learned is from the UK, to be honest. The UK government has a very clear exit to lockdown from COVID-19 strategies. the Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been announced the roadmap to reopen the countries. And as I could remember, starting from the 17th of May, that was the first day that UK government allowed the Britons to travel abroad without any quarantine for those, let's say, the green list countries. And then after that, another, I might say, influencing to Thailand is the UK government has launched the first ever, I might say the first time ever, the traffic light travel policy, which categorized into three types of the traffic light: the red, amber, and green. Which, well, fortunately, Thailand is in the middle. We are in the amber list at the moment, but that's still good because yesterday, as far as I know, the UK government just announced that for those who come back to the amber list destination, will not be, need to do home quarantine for another 10 days, just like before. So that's mean the easing of the restriction for those amber lists, including Thailand, thanks to that as well. And that's the great opportunity to Phuket Sandbox to welcome the UK tourists or the Britain tourists to visit the sandbox. And what about the Phuket Sandbox itself? Well, since those initiative idea came from around the world, we're learning from each other. And then we think on the island itself, there are quite very safe place. The numbers of new infections per day is very low on the island. Think about this. I believe that everyone have been there to Phuket before. The island, the whole island contain about 500,000 populations, including those workforce and hotel staff, and in the service tourism sector as well, about 500,000. And look at the numbers of the infection per day. It's less than 10 for over 2 or 3 months. But from time to time, sometimes it's zero, on the daily basis. Sometimes it's 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers of infections. Up to now, the numbers of infection cases found on the island still very low. I think the maximum was 8 or 9, the day before yesterday or some day before yesterday. The good thing is that the destination is safe. And now the vaccine rolled out, the vaccinations, community vaccination is already, reached to the standard of the herd immunities. The local people, the workforce, and everyone on the island has been vaccinated for more than 70%. In particular, the close or direct contact to the incoming tourists, for instance, like hotel staff, restaurant, spa, they are fully vaccinated 100%, most of them. I can reassure you that most of the hotels, the Char Plus hotel standard, most of the spa restaurant under the Char Plus standard. What is Char Plus standard? I'm going to, share with you later on. But that another good things about the destinations. It's safe by the local people vaccinated. It's safe by the very low new infection case per day. So that's why we decided together with the local people, with the local authorities, local government, to open the sandbox on the 1st of July. And it's very good start, as everyone mentions. The number is quite good. And then we still keep monitoring on the restrictions. It's not that very soon that we're going to ease in those restrictions, but we need to prove to everyone, to the local Thai people, prove to the international tourists to come and to see by their own eyes that Phuket is a safe place to everyone. And then I think what are we going to approach to the UK market is, I might say, city marketing, the island approach. It's not just to reopen the Thailand as the country reopening, but it's also about to reopen the cities, the island of Phuket, the island of vaccinated local people, the island of the better and I think more beautiful than before. I can reassure you one thing. So we might say the approach of the island city marketing. So that's why we came up with this idea. And then the numbers of the incoming flight from internationals is, let's say, from 2 to 7 or 6, 6 or 7 flights per day. The numbers average on daily basis is about let's say 400 to 500 on daily basis. The numbers of the well, I might say the infections per day, as I mentioned, is very low on everyday basis. And then sooner or later, after we prove this, after 2 weeks, which may be early next week, we're going to review all these restrictions, whether or not we should easing some kind of restrictions and add more value, add more privilege to the coming tourists. That for, at the very beginnings, please.
Thank you very much, Kun Sri Pakon, and all the useful information as well, which we all been wanting to hear about. So thank you very much for joining us today. And
yes,
I know you have
yes,
a very
one
busy
thing,
schedule.
Sorry, yes, if I may, sorry for interrupting you again. Just one thing, if you need to learn more about the Phuket Sandbox or some other destination to reopen soon, for instance, like Samui Plus today, or maybe the 1st of August will be extension to another Krabi and Phang Nga province, where the popular island like PP, Ngai Lai Le Islands, Khao Lat and Koh Yao Noise will be reopened as well on this coming August. Please kindly visit to our website, tatnews.org, just tatnews.org, and you will get all those information. And you can put every questions, we will answer right away. Please, thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kun Sri Pakon Samut. And David, who do we have up next?
Right, Kunbumi Kitty, the president of Phuket Tourist Association, is with us today. Kunbumi Kitty, how are you?
I'm very good. Sorry for my delay, and greeting to Pitan Solipokon as well. I give the full support to you because I must tell you guys in this Zoom that this guy, he may not a big guy, but his heart is very big. We give applause to the deputy TAT over there. He's the one behind all the success and effort. Take care.
Sorry for interrupt. You are the one, not me. Kun Pumgiti. You are the one. Thank you very much. So I have to.
There's a lot of pressure.
Meeting,
I know it's been.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone. Thank you Ko Kap and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Sorry Kap.
Well, I like to share.
Kunbumi Kitty, I know it's been. Yes, please. I know it's been an incredibly collaborative effort. If you could just share the absolutely latest numbers that we currently have at the moment. I had some from yesterday. What's the trend?
I actually would like to show something to you. Would I please share this to you? You all seen this, right? So basically, I would like to go ahead with the numbers. This is the numbers from since yesterday's. It's in Thai, unfortunately, it's in Thai, but you can look at the box here. For the past 14 days, we received the welcome for a traveler about 5,473 people, and it's only 10 that we found infected. So if you look at the numbers of the percentage, you have 10 divided by 5,000, you have less than 1% of the rate that you found on the infected people. But you have the swab or the second swab and the third swab. The third swab has been for 421, still not found any infected people. Sorry. If you look at the SHA plus accommodations, almost 200,000 room nights has been booked. Why you can divide it to July, it's about 168 room nights. The forward booking on August is 25,000 room nights, while the September is still less, like 2,000 room nights. But the trend is pretty good. If you look at the August, you have at least now about 3,000 traveler booking to this. So basically, if I want to measure the success of the sandbox so far on the first 2 weeks, I would say we've been doing very well in terms of trying to build bit by bit the confidence to international traveler. Of course, we never said that we're going to have 0 infected cases at all. But to find like only 10 from 5,000 looks very good to us. And we feel that with more measurements for domestic traveler, domestic infected, that could be less. This is the top areas. The Patong comprised of the popular Patong Beach is 38%, while Chantilly come the second 15%, Karon the third 12%, Mai Khao is 8%, Rawai and Gamala quite the same numbers, is 5% each. So if you look at the numbers that we're estimating by end of July, we probably would have about 18,000, 18,000 traveler by July. And we pretty much optimistic on August. The PTA has been estimating about 30,000 people would be arriving on August, while September we could have maximums about 35,000 people. TAT has been target on 100,000 people in 3 months. We feel a bit, the number is a bit too high because you probably see the Royal Gazette came quite late on 29th of June. But bit by bit, if we build the confidence, and I think the traveler will come. I'd like to also go back to this. We are pretty much requesting to the government on endorsing Sputnik. This is a main issue for us because we know Russians was the second ranking on 2019. So we now contact with the government to accepting Sputnik as the vaccines in Russia as a traveler, not injecting here for the Thai people. You know, it different mindset. If you want to have the Sputnik to injecting to the Thai people, it would be a long drag away from the reality. But if you're just accepting Sputnik vaccinations traveler to Thailand, we could have another door, which is we've been talking with TAT Moscow for time to times, and they're ready to fly in. And we hope that if we can come up with by Q3 that we convincing government to accept Sputnik vaccine, we could have Russians starting flying coming up, or maybe October. Okay, that's another challenging for us. We also want to look at the Thai market as well. Even Thai is not ready to traveling so far because of the pandemic, but we're trying to build something for preparations for the Thai entry maybe by the end of August. Sandbox give us.
Thank you. What are some of the top markets coming in at the moment? Where does the UK stand in this?
Well, the destination-wise, people traveling from US the most, and second by UAE and Israel, and UK and Germany. So the 5 destinations lying on top: USA, UAE, Israel, UK, and Germany.
Is that pretty much what you anticipated?
I was surprised to see US being the top destinations for departing to arriving to Phuket. I was also surprised to learn Israel will actually pretty much on Israel. But yeah, the rest of the market is quite familiar with Phuket market. So if you look at the market from US, you can see more on, they were mixing between business and leisure. While the rest, Israel purely leisure, UAE is mainly for leisure. So USA, they have mixing business and they stay a bit longer comparing to other market.
Fantastic. Bumi Kitty, how would you, so 14 days in, what would be your assessment so far, and how far have we got to go before we can really be comfortable to see significant numbers coming back to Phuket?
The 14 days stay, even it's the compulsory stay before they had hop to another destinations in Thailand, it's pretty lengthening the length of stay in Phuket. Before COVID, we have only 4.7 nights per stay, but now we have 11 nights per stay. It's pretty good to us, but yeah, we actually looking forward to reducing the compulsory stay, either from 14 to 10 or 7, hopefully. Then we can, carry on and collaborate with our neighbors like Phang and Krabi, so they can have a business as well. But the PTA is now coming to the program called 14 days never enough. We will try to put some things on the 14 days, And let's see if we can convincing people not compulsory to stay, but likely to choose to stay 14 days in a row. Let's see is that work.
Fantastic. Kumbumi Kitty, thank you so much for your insights. Please stick around. We've got 2 or 3 other speakers. There's already a whole host of questions that we'll be asking. Please stick around, and we're looking forward to for you to be able to answer some of those questions in the moment. We've got Thai Airways next. Sumi Surian, would you like to introduce, please?
Hi, next speaker, we've got Kun Kittipong Sansombun, who is the Executive Director of Customer Brand Marketing from Thai Airways International. Welcome to our webinar, Mr. Kittipong.
Sawasdee krap.
So the question we have, sorry, please. Welcome to our webinar, Kun Kittipong. So the question on everyone's mind and the topic is Phuket Sandbox. So getting here in Phuket. And, what are the direct point-to-point Phuket routes currently with Thai Airways? And the other question is, talk us through the airfares. There's a lot of, I guess, mixed messages there as to what fares currently is on at the moment, and through different destinations, and how that's going to be different from season to season. And safety measures, like how is that different traveling now than previously, pre-COVID times? So if you can enlighten us, that would be really good. But before you answer those questions, we would like to play a quick video, if you don't mind. Welcome back, Kun Kittipong.
Thank you. As we speak, as I'm speaking, can I share the screen on the information that could help all the audience, the participant, to understand what I'm saying much better? Well, yes, to answer your first question. To answer your first question, let me say hello to all the guests and participants. Say hello for this is Kittipong from Thai Airways from Bangkok. Sawasdee krap. All the friends from UK, from London, is around the world who joining this session. Yes, we starting from the 2nd of July, we had started the flight to support Phuket Sandbox as a national carrier of Thailand. We operate from 4 major cities in Europe. Frankfurt and Paris trying to go on Fridays, leaving Frankfurt and Paris on Friday afternoon to arrive Phuket on Saturday morning, whereas London Heathrow and Zurich, leaving Heathrow and Zurich in the afternoon to arrive Phuket on the Sunday morning, once a week, of course. So at the moment, that will be 4 flights a week. And on the return trip, passenger fly from Phuket via Bangkok. But the good news is, starting from the 1st of August, we will operate the return non-stop flight from Phuket back to London Heathrow and Phuket to Frankfurt as well. So the passengers from London, from the UK, and from Frankfurt can enjoy the non-stop service on the return to Europe. So this is what we've been supporting and operating into the Phuket Sandbox so far. And for the airfares, I must say that we would like to invite and welcome all the friends of Thailand back to Phuket, and of course to reconnect with Thai Airways. So we had set airfare very reasonable price. Consider the non-stop service, which is, I personally think, is the most convenient and safest way to fly, especially during these pandemic situations. and you don't have to stop in the middle of the night midway somewhere. So you fly non-stop down to Phuket. So this is the way that we set the fare. For example, the all-in fare, return fare from London Heathrow to Phuket in Royal Silk class or the business class start just around £3,000 return, whereas the economy class start as low as £650 only. So if you consider this situation, the fare is quite very reasonable. Yep. And we would like to add something which is a very plus point to the passenger who fly Thai. Taking the consideration as a national carrier, we have partnered with many hotels and the restaurant in Phuket to offer the benefit to Royal Kit Plus, the loyalty program member of Thai Airways. So fly Thai and you apply to be an ROP member, you can enjoy the extra perks, especially the Phuket Laguna, which is our good partner since very long time. We are exciting to announce the joint partnership and special offer very soon. Yep. So this so far it's about the airfare and what we fly and where we fly. And the third question that you touch upon, it's about what does it like on board? Is that correct?
Yes, safety with travels, like what's changed now for passengers, what to expect when they board on planes and, traveling, what do they have to wear? How's that different from pre-COVID times and now?
Okay, let me show you another slide. Well, let me share this information for you. We had abide by the preventive measure from the Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand and the International Aviation Governing Body on this protective and hygiene measure. So our cabin crew wear the full protective gear as you see in the picture, with the face mask, with the gloves, and they wear the protective suit over the uniform. And the air quality on board is very clean, whereas we have the system that we call the HEPA, the high efficient particulate air. It's technically a filter to circulate and to make the air is so clean and in flight. So for the passengers required to wear the medical face mask at all time, except during the time when the meal and drink is being served. We serve hot meal, of course, and upon boarding the airplane, passenger will be provided so-called the sky pack, which is filled up with the refreshment bottle of water, some snack, some sandwiches, and the juice. And particularly on the Phuket route, we choose the coconut water to complement the Phuket as well. So before arriving Phuket in the morning, we will serve the breakfast as well, the hot breakfast. And that is what going to happen.
Right, excellent.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kun Kittipong, for the insightful information, especially with the new safety and hygiene measures as well when it comes to traveling. So thank you again for joining us today and sharing with us information about Thai Airways, the routes, and also the fares. So David, you're up next.
Thank you, Sumi. And next up, we've got Ravi Chandran. Ravi Chandran is the Managing Director of Lagoon Phuket. Quickly before we do that, we're going to show a quick video. Ravi Chandran,
Hi.
Managing Director, Laguna Phuket. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
We have had a lot of talk from the perspective of the airlines, destination itself. We've looked at the numbers. Now we're going to look at the hotels. How do you think it's gone so far?
I think like Kun Bumkiti has said, from our point of view, it's been very encouraging. It's been steady. The sandbox procedures initially were hard for the guests to understand, but like you said, 2 weeks, 5,000 guests. For 18 months, we've had no one. So I think from a hotel perspective, it's been encouraging.
From a hotel perspective, it's been encouraging. What about from a guest perspective? Have you been getting any feedback from the guests?
Feedback from the guests, they're happy to be about. Most of them have been locked down, haven't traveled for 18 months.
Right.
So they'd just be happy to be in the resort and enjoy all our resort facilities.
Right.
So from the guest point of view, they're happy.
Okay, just a quick one on that. Enjoy all the guest facilities. You've got 7 hotels in the destination.
We have
Just a quick-
7 hotels. So we have the Banyan Tree brand, the Dusitani, Angsana, Cassia, Sai hotels. So we have something for everyone, really,
Okay.
from families to kids. And with 1,000 acres, 3 kilometers of beach front, we're well set for the guests to enjoy a holiday. Of course, there's been teething issues, and I
Right.
wouldn't say the first week was perfect, but as we slowly go on and build consumer confidence, I think the numbers will pick up for the fourth quarter.
Okay, we're just going to get to that. What about the numbers coming up, the bookings, the advanced bookings, and where they're coming from? I know we've talked about the UK a little bit,
Yeah,
about the States.
So July, August, September, typically low season, slow months. Before the sandbox started, we were doing single-digit occupancies. We're now doing around 20% occupancies in the Chantilly area and in our hotels. And I think Patong are doing a little bit better, but they're more smaller. But again, slow but steady.
Okay. The future, reasons for optimism?
Reasons for optimism, I think if we can keep the infections down, fine-tune the procedures, more direct travel, airlines are booking straight into Phuket.
Okay.
Consumer confidence, I think we're quietly confident for the fourth quarter, but we're all gearing up.
Well,
for the
I know we've got so we have direct flights from the UK. Just tell me a little bit about the UK market. I know it's been a traditionally, I mean, it's been a great market for Phuket for years, hasn't it? But the arrivals are good.
Well, UK, I think the TAT touched on it, because it's turned amber. Guests coming from the UK
Going back, isn't it?
don't have to quarantine
Yeah.
or even self-isolate. I think there's one
yeah.
dose. And UK has always been a good COR for us, typically in the winter months in UK, but we're seeing a little bit of injection in these months, summer months, because they've been locked down again.
Okay.
So UK, USA, Israel,
Okay.
Germany.
Okay.
Israel's a bit of a.
Any particular concerns from your guests, or they're worried about where they're going to get their injections, their testing?
I think the testing, we are lucky enough to have a PCR test center on site.
Okay.
So that eases the guest concern. So it's quite easy to go and take your swab test and go back to your room and enjoy your holiday. But I think one of the things we have to look into is the paperwork and downloading of the apps before arrival. Our hotel teams are working with the guest, and that process will speed up, and we'll see better numbers come August, September.
Okay, well, it's very encouraging. I thought what Bumi Kitty was saying was really interesting too, because it was the length of stay is actually increasing, so that should benefit.
Yeah, like Boom Kitty was saying, it was about 5 days before,
Right.
So now 14 days. One last thing, David, I'd like to thank Boom Kitty, Phuket Province. I think they've collaborated so well to get as far as we have, and Phuket is still the only place east of Maldives to have tourists.
Right.
So we should,
Right.
look.
Fantastic, fantastic. Ravi Chandran, Managing Director, Laguna Phuket. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, we're going to have a look at actually. So we've done hotels. We've looked at the access. We've looked at airlines. We looked at the destination with TAT. We've looked at the numbers. Now we're going to look at what you're actually going to do here. So today I've got Tourist. We've got Tourist, Director of Sales and Marketing, Tourist of International Markets, Peter Weibel. Peter, please come. Just a moment, please. We're having a little technical moment. It's called miking. It's called a. Not that
okay
technical,
now?
really. Okay,
I'll be
fantastic.
back.
Sorry, Peter, where were you?
Okay, never mind. So we have very extensive and very detailed health and safety standard operating procedures, which are back of the house, but also, of course, front.
Right.
And parallel to this work, the Thailand team of Tourist Thailand did the SHA, the Safety Health Administration certification, which is really detailed,
right.
Giving the approval by the government to show how we are organizing our office, how our employees deal internally, but also providing transfers, sanitation, how people are sitting, how, I need to step back, okay. How in general, how we are dealing with customers, but also ourselves to make sure if you're sick, you don't come.
But is it overly fussy?
No.
Is it a complete pain?
Well, you know,
are the drivers dressed up in hazmat suits and?
No. So basically, we have SHA Plus certification, which means that at least 70% of our team in Phuket is vaccinated, which is already done. But what we have had time to train to make sure that we are doing everything healthy and safe, but at the same time, not in a bureaucratic way that where people are, overwhelmed.
Okay, that makes great sense. Peter Weibel, thank you so much for coming on today. Tourist.
Thank you for having me.
Director of Sales and Marketing, International Markets. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Well, next up we have C9 Hotelworks. C9 Hotelworks is run by a gentleman called Bill Barnett. Bill Barnett's been living on Phuket for many, many years. He is here to share with us some of his opinion and forward-thinking ideas. Thank you, Bill. Please.
Right, David, thanks so much, and it's great to have the mic working again. It's Aloha Friday, apparently. So I've got the right gear. Interesting as well. So today we're going to talk some data, and I've got some slides which we're going to be rolling through. Can we roll the slides, guys? Now, what's interesting a little bit here is airlift is everything, and I want to take a kind of a look. Our thought is when people say what's going to happen to Phuket and the hotel scene and what's going to be the future of Phuket hotels, we tend to use 2019 as our base case and say, this is our forward goal. Someday we want to go back to 2019, right? 2019 is the future. So we're going to get in that DeLorean car and we're going to drive back to 2019. And this is the base case of what we thought was normalized. Now, how are we going to get back to 2019? The easiest way that we look at is Phuket International Airport, right? You can't stay there if you can't get there. And this goes down to airlift. And we're talking about airlift. We look back at the years and we look back at 2019, 2020, and 2021, right? And we can see kind of the trend that happened. Now, what's interesting is when we look at 2020 and 2021, we see in March of last year, that's when Phuket Airport shut down. That's when Phuket effectively closed down. And we started to see airlift moving backwards after that time, right? Now, when we come into this year, we've seen January, we've seen February. March was getting okay. When we got to April, we again had the Bangkok outbreak as well, and airlift shifted downwards. So again, what we're seeing is volatility. But when you say, how far do we have to go to get back where were in 2019, it's a pretty long ways, right? So that's pretty important to go. Next slide, please. Okay. Again, looking back at airport airlift, and trying to find out where those numbers were. Flight arrivals, again, we've seen 2018. We saw good growth in 2019, which is, again, encouraging. And then the drop off in 2020 and going into 2020, looking at 2020 in May, we again see that problem without international airlift. Now, with the Phuket Sandbox, we're seeing international airlift again, and that's a good thing. We're seeing between around 200 arrivals a day through the Phuket Sandbox for the first 14 days. Okay? Looking forward, we can also look in terms of where these arrivals are coming from and start comparing these month by month and saying, going back to pre-COVID figures, these were the numbers which we're seeing month to month. We're saying anywhere from 700, 800, 900,000 in peak periods. And what you'll notice from this, and our expectation is when we roll through the recovery, is Phuket's going to go back to a seasonal market. That's my belief. Again, we understand we have the snowbirds. When you go back to October through March, where we see the big numbers here, okay, we're going to start seeing those snowbirds coming. So when we say, when is Phuket going to start recovering and feel real impact from the sandbox? Probably October, when we see the Russian market comes back, when we see the Northern European business as well. This is cyclical business. This is where we're going to start seeing more recovery, but it's going to be a hard time in September. September, this period, and the shoulder periods are going to be difficult. Next slide. I think something when we see the impact on Phuket, there are other businesses in Phuket. Phuket is not 90% tourism. There are other industries as well, but certainly is tourism dependent. And we've seen tourism receipts, how they've pretty much gone as expected, 2019 down to here, right? Now, the good positive thing here would be there's a lot of upside, okay? So in terms of recovery, we are gonna see these numbers grow, but this is where we slid over a 2-year period. And this is a pretty dramatic drop, and it shows you how important tourism is to the economy, because we're looking at probably 50, 60% of GDP for the island. That's where we have to restart the economies. Next slide. There's always the expectation in terms of when we're looking at room night demand again, and we go backwards and say, looking backwards to a period of time, 2019, when we see occupancy 70, 80%, and fairly better non-seasonal trading kind of, April of last year, that's when everything stopped and rolled downwards. And then we can see where this base case is, and this pretty much tells you everything. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And this certainly shows the impact of the pandemic on Phuket tourism. Again, Phuket is really reliant on international travelers. And when you ask about the sandbox, Phuket and Koh Samui, they can't survive on domestic business. Domestic business in these 2 locations, sub 10%. So no matter what we did with domestic, we'd say, bring them back, bring them back. We have to have foreign travel to get these numbers, okay? Now, when we talk about the incoming pipeline and the impact of things on the next slide, okay? What's interesting to us is how many projects are coming into Phuket. There's about 12,000 new hotel keys in the Phuket pipeline. And when we look at the impact of this on canceled projects, which is right here, you know, we've seen about 13% of the projects cancel out of the pipeline. And we see some delays also, but 67%. So we've still got about 8,000, 9,000 keys, which are still coming into the market. So again, there is investor confidence within these markets as well. I think my takeaway when I look at the research and the numbers we're looking at is Phuket's probably going to have a demand-led recovery, okay? If you're a hotelier out there, you're going to be buying traffic. It's probably going to take 3-4 years for rates to go back to the 2019 level, okay? We'll see demand. And where are those areas going to come? I think probably Patong and some of the markets where you have a lot of hotel rooms will come later. We'll see peripheral demand, Kamala, Cherntale, Mai Khao, these type of areas, even down south. But we expect the bigger mass tourism numbers, it's going to take a while to get back to that. Probably a 2 to 3 year trajectory, right? So it's not going to come back quickly, but it should come back steady, okay? Now, something we're also asked about is the sandbox. We've got about 5,400 arrivals already in the sandbox. And again, at the worst case, we're saying, oh my God, the sandbox is not functioning. Sandbox is functioning exactly what we thought it would be, because there's been 10 COVID cases, okay? That's 0.15%. If I go to the UK, you've got 33,000 cases a day, okay? Which are emerging. You go to the US and look how many cases are arriving as well. So again, the check and balance system for the sandbox is they're seeing the COVID cases, they're addressing it as well. My one thing I always look at tourism is Thailand has to live with COVID-19, okay? Our lives going forward has to be with COVID-19, and we have to coexist to move forward. That's certainly the case. Today, I've got a special guest, Tony Chisholm. Tony Chisholm, people ask about how was the sandbox experience? Come on, Tony.
Hey, Bill.
How are you?
Good, good.
Okay, we can. I don't know if we can shake hands.
I don't think we can. The elbows.
Exactly. Tony, interesting enough, was actually a sandbox traveler. You came 14 days ago?
I did. I'm actually free to leave Phuket as of today.
Oh my God. Okay.
But of course,
don't leave.
To be here.
Don't leave.
To be here with you.
Okay. How was the arrival experience?
Yeah, look, it was actually really good. It was easier than the process leading up to that, which was just the challenge of orientating our way through the website, the COE. So that had its, challenge to get through. But, I thought the ambition of everyone's attempt to make all the passengers feel welcomed, the Prime Minister was there. There was a sincere effort to make it as smooth as possible. And quite frankly, I think 45 minutes I was through and into my car. So not bad, considering that was day one, and I presume they'll only get better and faster and more efficient in the process.
How difficult were those PCR tests? Everybody's talking about, I got to stop for the PCR test. You're a prisoner in your hotel room.
Yeah. Look,
how's that experience?
It's also been really good. I think day one, and I was the very first test, it was a little bit clumsy, but you'd expect that. And like anything, by day two, the second test, and then my third one recently was perfectly fine and of equal quality and merit to Singapore or Australia or New Zealand where I've had them.
So you've come into Phuket, you've actually gone around the island now, you've been traveling around Phuket.
Yep.
How do you find Phuket right now? Is it dead? Is there restaurants open? Are there things to do?
Yeah, there's parts that are busy and there's great vibe and enthusiasm from employees. I think they're excited to be back at work and excited not to see me, but tourists in general and people spending money. But I drove through Patong a couple of days ago, and that seemed quiet. So there are sort of stretches of shops or cafes and restaurants and even hotels that are still closed. But overall, I mean, the attempt of what's being put together here is incredible, and full merit and credit to everyone behind it.
Maybe one final question. If you would offer up some comments to the government saying, how could you improve the sandbox to make it even better? What would those 2 or 3 things be?
I think for, a guy like me who travels as much as I do, the process to get here was pretty heavy going and arduous. So that part probably needs to be made a lot easier for families and people like my parents who would want to travel. It's quite tricky.
Tony Chisholm, you've survived the sandbox. You've made it through. Thanks so much today.
Thank you.
Very much. Great.
See you again.
Tony, we're going to play a short video and then we're going to come to a Q&A period.
ยินดีต้อนรับกลับบ้าน 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 ยินดีต้อนรับกลับบ้านนะคะ ยินดีต้อนรับกลับบ้าน ยินดีต้อนรับกลับบ้านจ้า ยินดีต้อนรับกลับบ้าน ยินดีต้อนรับกลับบ้านครับผม
Okay, right. We're going to get to the Q&A.
Like we're at the bar already.
We're at the bar, sorry, and I'm just in on this side. Excuse me.
Distance, David.
But
distance,
no,
distance.
thank you very much for reminding me, Bill. But hey, there's been so many questions that have been coming in, so we probably won't be able to get to them all, but we're going to get to as many as we can. And I'm going to actually start with you, Peter, over on the left. Actually, I'm going to start with you because it's about what you can do on the ground, and we couldn't hear the answer to your first 2 questions.
So that gives me time to do it.
Actually, Tony covered a little bit of it already, but what can you actually do in Phuket on the ground? There's obviously been a lot of talk about, a lot of things aren't open. What can you do?
Well, basically, the island is yours, except for nightlife and performances at the moment. Temple beaches, viewpoints, Phuket town, shops, malls, and so on are open. To make sure that this is understood, the team of Tourist Highland actually created a Phuket introduction tour, which is used to, which combines a lot of these sites, and it could also be a reintroduction tour.
What about diving? Actually, if I want to go diving.
Well,
can I?
At the moment, probably. I don't know.
Good question.
It depends.
A very good question.
It's an excellent question.
Exactly.
It depends where you go, because again, if you go to Maiton Island or to Coral Island, I believe you can go, but not out of the province.
Exactly. Right.
How about Ravi, Boat Avenue, just around the corner from here? It looks pretty lively.
All the restaurants are open
Right.
on Boat Avenue, and to be honest, it's been open for about 6 to 9 months before the sandbox.
Right.
More with domestic tourism, and now the sandbox guests can enjoy.
Okay. Question here about who should I ask this to? Kumbubi Kitty, are you with us? If you're with us, what is, just looking into your crystal ball, when will restrictions be lifted from Bangkok into Phuket?
I think he's left the building right now.
He's left the building. Okay.
So that's an interesting
who's going to
question,
take that one then, Bill?
I think it's going to be under evaluation. It's a moving target. They expect to roll this off. And again, the intention is to open up Phang Nga, Krabi provinces as well, and the peripheral areas of Phuket.
Right.
So as soon as things are working, we're going to seek success on this front and continue to go forward.
So when can we actually judge that we've got to that stage? Is that October? Do we need 3 months? Do we need 120 days?
It's on a staggered basis.
It's on a
This is
staggered
right now,
basis.
yeah.
Okay.
As CCSA continues to meet and evaluate things, and a lot depends on Bangkok.
Right. Ravi Chandran, a question for you here regarding events. So this is probably something that's going to be quite a way off. But obviously, Laguna Phuket is well known for its events and its large gatherings. When can we look forward to that again?
We're looking at the fourth quarter to be safe. October onwards, events. We've got some golf events lined up. And we're getting a lot of inquiries from the regional, international media for golf events and some sporting events, other sporting events, kayaking. But to be on the safe side, I would say the fourth quarter.
So what about the marathon and triathlon? Are they going to happen?
At the moment, yeah.
Okay.
That's November, December.
And
So
is there going to be a restriction on the numbers so far that we know of?
again, we're waiting for advice from the government and then Phuket province itself. So fingers crossed.
Great. I think we have some more questions from David. David?
Yeah, another tricky one, I'm afraid, guys, because there's a few tricky ones that are coming. Mixing vaccines. So mixing vaccines. Will this cause a problem to entering Phuket?
I think Bill's best to answer that.
Right now, the rules are quite clear in terms of 2 shots of a single vaccine or 1 shot of Astra as well right now. So we'd await guidelines with the sandbox. Yeah.
Okay.
Those guidelines go back to the COE. The COE is quite clear about what's necessary right now.
Okay.
Is this going to continue to be evolved? Of course it is.
Okay. Another vaccine question, please. Sinovac. Are there any restrictions for Sinovac travelers coming into Phuket?
No.
I've had 2 shots of Sinovac.
And Sinovac is WHO approved as well. So, nope.
Okay. Kun Kittipong, you're with us. There's a couple of questions for you here. There's several from Japan, actually. When can we look forward to direct flights from Japan to Phuket?
In fact, I already replied to the gentleman already. Yes, we are considering it. We are working on it. Yes, it is possible.
No, that's great. Completely appreciate all the key source markets from Phuket are looking to get here and get here directly as a point-to-point travel. There was one question also, maybe to reassure. It's very interesting because there's a lot of questions about safety. And I think even though we're doing well so far, there's still a consideration regarding that. Are TG crews all completely vaccinated?
As we speak, it's over 90% of our crew has been vaccinated. As we speak, it should be, I would say, fully very soon.
Okay, that's excellent to hear. Thank you very much. How about there's a question, also a question outside of hotels. It seems that villas and guest houses, many villas, many guest houses, can't get SHA Plus certification. When is that going to change?
I think that's not going to change anytime soon. Registered tourism establishments are those which fall under the regime, but right now for individual villas, they don't qualify for SHA Plus. But there's over 600 hotels and tourism establishments in Phuket. So when Phuket says it's going to be expensive, please look at the website. You've got everywhere room rates going from top to bottom, from 1-star hotels to 5-star hotels out there. So again, there's about 88,000 registered hotel rooms in Phuket. There's about 600 hotels under SHA Plus.
Great, thanks very much. Another question about hotels. Well, not another question about hotels, but we've had several already. But Ravi Chandran in the hot seat here. Hotels. Can you move around in the 14 days? Do you have to stay in the same hotel for 14 days, or you have to leave, or can you change? And how many times can you change?
You can change after 7 days.
Okay.
You can change hotels after 7 days. So you definitely can move around. The first day you can't move around. You have to stay in your room till your first COVID result is given. But you can definitely move around.
Okay, thanks very much. And that's obviously no problem. Peter Bible, that there's no problem regarding moving around. There's no extra checks from a ground handling perspective.
No, absolutely not. The contrary, to make it easier, Tourist Thailand created special packages where transfers are included, accommodation, excursions, and so on. So very easy, and also again highlights the possibility that the clients or the guests can stay in more than one place during the 14 days.
Okay, thank you. We've got a few questions about Sputnik approvals. So can Bhumi Kitty put that one out there? I think that's probably in phase 2 or even phase 3.
Yeah, I think they're looking for approvals.
That's really important considering between Russian and Chinese travelers, those are about almost half of Phuket tourist arrivals in 2019. So these 2 markets are very centric. The Russian market from October to March, again, 13-day average length of stay. It's a long traveler time as well. So it's very important that Sputnik does come on board and can come on board soon. So we'd really urge the government out there to really address the Sputnik issue to get the Russians back to Phuket.
Yeah, just to add on to what Bill was saying, I think the Russian market will be the key. So if we can get that in the 4th quarter, it'll set us up nicely.
Okay. There's a question about August, September, October, August, September in particular. October Q4, there seems to be a much more confidence the market will come back more quickly. September and October, what sort of percentage of increase are you seeing Mr. Chandran, in terms of your bookings in Laguna Phuket?
For August, we're seeing slightly higher numbers than July. September is typically the lowest month of the year. So we're still seeing, there's not much movement, but October, we're seeing 5 to 10 percentage points higher than July and August currently as it stands. But that will all play out over the next month or two, depending on how the sandbox goes.
Okay, thank you. Peter, another question for you, please. There's a lot of interest in what you can do. There's lots of fabulous hotels that are open. There's a lot of interest in what you can do. What would you recommend? If you were to select 1, 2, or even 3 things you must do in your 14 days in Phuket, what would they be?
I would definitely go to Phuket Town. Wonderful place, Chino-Portuguese architecture, well-maintained architecture, buildings, lovely little shop, coffee culture. So if coffee is your cup of tea, fantastic. That was
2 more.
Anyway,
2 more. Yeah.
Okay. Again, go to viewpoints. Phuket is not just overdeveloped as it used to be called. Phuket is covered 60% by forest, 70% by hills. Go to a viewpoint, go to Big Buddha, go to Promthep Cape and enjoy the views and have long beach walks. I mean, I'm staying near Bantao Beach, fantastic. Go to Serene Beach or another thing, if I have a 4th point, surfing or surf skating. I mean, these are fantastic new activities that people can do here on the island.
I think maybe, David, one thing before we close today, one thing, when we look at our welcome back home, we're talking about, aside from the places in Phuket, it's about the people. I mean, I'm a hotel guy. What I understand is the power of the people. We're in a human business. You know, it's not the product. It's about these people here in Phuket. And when people say, what about the sandbox? Sandbox not going to work. These are livelihoods at stake. And this industry survives on people. For us to keep going and keep our businesses rolling and tourism, it's really important. The world's eyes are on Phuket. And the hopes of many places across Asia are saying, if the Phuket sandbox evolves, maybe we can do it from Bali to the Philippines to Vietnam. Everybody, all eyes are right now on Phuket. So there's a lot at stake. It's not just a single market. So I think when you think about sentiment, think about the faces of the people, about welcome back home, and look at your own markets as well and say, if Phuket can do it, we can do it too.
Just one last thing, David, I'd like to say. I think webinars like this are very useful because it gives a sense of perspective and the positivity and the negativity, if we can balance that up. It's been very encouraging. Of course, things can be better, but what we're seeing is slowly our bookings are picking up. And I think especially the public health, Ministry of Public Health, the doctors are containing the virus as much as possible in Phuket. So will it change tomorrow? Who knows?
Okay, we're going to have to wrap up there. And I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone. Bill Barnett, Sinon and Hotelworks, Ravi Chandran, Laguna Phuket, Peter Weibel from Tourist, Kun Kittipong. Thank you for your input. It's been absolutely fantastic from Thai Airways, Siripakon from the Tourism Authority of Thailand, and of course, Kun Bumi Kitty from the Phuket Tourist Association, and our partners from Dear Living Age Communications, myself too, Sumi Suryan, and
Creative AV.
Thank you,
Great
Creative
studio.
AV too.
Great
Thank you
studio.
so much.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
All the best.